Hello and welcome to all the ghouls and vampires out there. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And today we've got Friday the 13th Part 3. So, 133. Actually, in all honesty, a few years ago I saw this film for the first time and I actually really didn't like it. I hated it. Remember? I was always complaining about it. But this time around, weirdly, I actually have to admit it grew on me. Although, there are parts I still don't like, and I know it's a really bad movie. It's so bad it's actually grown on me a little. Maybe I have Stockholm Syndrome towards it.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. But the movie starts off with the characters deciding that they're going to head to the most murder-happy camp in the country to, escape from society. That said, they interrupt a mother-daughter bonding moment as a mother is accusing her daughter of various things and yelling at her and shrieking at her and throwing things at her. And daughter's doing vice versa, is doing it right back. And so she steps out cheerfully to tell her friends, it's just a regular mother-daughter bonding moment. Which for the Spanish and Italians, certainly, although with the Italians you might have seen blood drawn between mother and daughter, that would have been the most affectionate kind of bonding moment. Parmi les Français, we don't typically yell at our children and threaten them and try to, ruin them as part of our bonding moment. We just yell at them to pass over every meal dish towards us, and then we steal from their plate. We're much more civilized. While we're stealing from them, we're also yelling at them. We're civilized, you see.
Yes. Far more civilized
than those Italian Spanish barbarians. What would they know with their Spanish empires and Roman empires? I'm kidding. Anyways, I had to crack that joke. But this gang is a little more colorful in some ways than the previous one. In particular, Shelley, who has a bit of an arc, but keeps screwing up and just pulling stupid pranks on everyone. Because he thinks it's funny to pretend to have been murdered and all sorts of other stuff. But he also has a cowardly side, and he tries to rise to the occasion to impress Vera, the Spanish girl, who's really quite the sweetheart. But she's just expecting Shelley to, act a bit like a man, not a wuss, and not be a total jerk. I don't know how else to describe it. As to one couple they're expecting, and then you've got the hippies in the back who I almost have the impression they just stole their way onto the truck and just tagged along. But they're really, at least the male hippie's really quite pitiful. That said, the minute they arrive, the murder starts to happen. Jason, though, finds that his baghead thing doesn't really work. For him, it's not in vogue anymore. He's a man of fashion, of class. He needs a hockey mask. And it just so happens Shelley has one, so he murders him for it. Like any red-blooded American would. Or Canadian, considering, us in hockey. Which, actually, I now have a fan theory. Jason's half Canadian. I'm kidding. You weren't expecting that one, were you?
No.
What? It would explain everything. The obsession with the hockey mask. Actually, it doesn't explain his passion for the summer. We Canadians prefer our winters. Because then we get to have our beers and have our hockey games. And if you insult it, either of those, see Canadian bacon for what happens.
But he's not completely civilized. He's not using a hockey stick.
Okay, fair enough. He can't be Canadian. He must be American. All right. Well, Dutch-American. Like, there's a difference between the two. I'm joking. Sorry. We've had a pretty good time with this movie. As you can see, once the murders start to happen, we've got the characters who start to drop. And actually, you kind of care about one or two, the married couple. Because they genuinely seem in love and like they're a good sort. You have Shelley, who you kind of grow fond of, even as you're irritated with them. Vera, you grow fond of, because she seems like a nice girl. Just a little Spanish. I'm joking. Yeah, sorry for all the weird, politically incorrect jokes. Actually, we're very fond of them, I think. And the trouble is, actually, I think with Vera, she was the one I was the least keen to see go. I do think it would have been more interesting had she been the final girl. Because, well, she had the most attitude. That said, little do most of the cast know that, meanwhile, while they've been having a fun time, local bikers have been angry at Shelley for his prank on them when he ran over their motorcycles. So they empty all the gas tanks from the vehicles, which seems a little bit of a petty crime. Like, it seems like a very petty prank in return. That said, Christy, the main character, later suffers for this because it really comes back to bite her. She, on the other hand, relates to Rick after talking it over with her best friend about how she once discovered Jason. She was napping in the forest. It was peaceful, and then Jason came upon her and was feeling a little frisky, and that didn't go over very well for her. She escaped him eventually. Whether or not it was before or after he did anything, we don't know, and we can only speculate. Not that it's particularly important in the universe in the grand scheme of things. Christy was nonetheless fairly traumatized from this incident, and her family decided she had to move elsewhere. She decided to come back to face her fears and to see her boyfriend who's been cheating on her with someone called Mary Jo Conrad. And Jason will get to her at some point, I imagine, considering he's on a warpath to murder half the people of Camp Crystal Lake and the local township. And
I mean, people keep coming into his man cave.
Yeah, I know. He's just a man who wants to be left alone. Why won't they leave him alone and stop nagging him about giving his mother the proper funerary rites? Like, he just needs space from his dad. Like, his dad's always on his case. Oh, murder more people, son. Nah, why didn't you stick it to them in the same way your mom would have, or I would have? In my day, when we murdered people, we did it right. Honestly, I don't think Jason could do anything right in his dad's eyes. And this is why he's so depressed. And why he's murdering all these teens is because he's trying to do it right, but, you know, he can never please daddy. He's really a wounded child. I don't think anyone believed me. But anyways, you've got Christy who fights him off, and it's almost like a Looney Tunes cartoon at the end. Just with how comedic it gets. Sorry, you're the one who commented it was like Looney Tunes. Just with her shrieking like her head off, which did start to drill into my ears. Running around trying to...
It was almost cartoony at a few points.
Yeah, and she hangs Jason. That doesn't work. She goes down.
She axes him.
Yeah, she just wanted to ask him a few questions. And then she gets on the boat. Then we get two fake-out endings. Jason charging her, then disappearing. Pam, with her head reassembled to her body, jumping out of the lake for some weird reason. Apparently, someone in the studio wanted that to be the ending, which was just... Why? Then we cut to the real ending, which is actually pretty good, with Christy having had a temporary psychotic break as she's laughing, crying, shrieking all at once, and just downright hysterical. As the local sheriff kindly moves her into the vehicle, closes the door very firmly, and locks her in there. She starts freaking out as the other U.S. Marshal tries to calm her down and get her, to stop freaking out, because she's reacting to the car like a mad woman. And they drive her off to the local hospital, where her parents are going to be waiting for her in part 4, and will be keen to reassure her even as she breaks down crying before they escort her back home. Needless to say, she's going to be in therapy for a while. And I don't think she's coming back for, well, any future fan films or films. But I think in the Bloodlines fan films, she has a relative of hers that comes back. That comes along. And I think it was Tamira who was her relative. Which I think Christy would have told her, stay away from there.
Stay away from there. Hell, let's move countries. Like, heck.
Let's move countries.
Let's move countries across the pond.
Oh, wait. since the Voorhees are Dutch, does that mean there's more like Jason over in Europe?
Maybe they should just move to Japan.
Yeah, I know.
The kaiju, they're no. You don't have,
Yeah, they're manageable. Same with the Yukiona and the female ghost with the long hair. They're manageable problems. Nothing compared to Jason. Or Elias Voorhees. That said, how would you rate this film?
1.5.
Yeah, that seems about right.
It's
Probably going to go with the same.
it's not terrible.
It's
It's popcorn flick.
It's bad, but it's hard to hate it. Like, you could say, oh, will this ever measure up? No. But can you watch it and enjoy it and just laugh a little?
Yes.
Yeah. Although that said, on the other hand, I might rate it a 1, because I kind of like part 2 a lot more. No, I'll rate it a 1.1. 1.25. So, yeah, I'm going to downgrade my vote a little, because part 2 was way better. Part 4 has more drama. And part 5 is, yeah. Anyways, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button to stay tuned for more.